I mean, he does, of course, he has money. He's a billionaire. We know that.
I don't know. That might not be true. What's that? Is a lawyer Alina Habba? I don't think she's got that right. Unless, he comes up with the money, he has it sitting around. But
there are a lot of billionaires that wouldn't have that kind of money sitting
around
on their side table.
Well, they have things. They have things. So anyhow, Donald Trump's attorneys now say he cannot secure the roughly $500 million bond for the civil fraud judgment.
If you're not already aware, March 25th is the day that Donald Trump has no choice but to either pay Letitia James egregious fine with his own cash or some kind of bond, or they're going to start coming for his properties. And he needs to do this before he's even got the opportunity to appeal the ruling under New York state law. Now, just think about that for just 1 second. Even if you're a person who has been completely trained and coerced to literally hate and despise all things Donald Trump over the last basically decade, even if you have the worst possible case of Trump derangement syndrome in the entire world, everything about this case should actually trouble you. You got a state's attorney general, the top law enforcement officer in a state, who campaigned on the promise to get and destroy one single United States citizen. Even if you yourself hate that citizen, if you hate Donald Trump, you can't possibly support any of this and keep your own credibility. You can't support that and still believe in freedom or law or justice. You just can't. It just doesn't work like that. If you hate Donald Trump because you believe he's a criminal or a con artist or a bad actor of any definition, right, that cannot possibly excuse the same tactics or worse being used against him. Now, obviously, when leftist propaganda politics are involved, credibility isn't exactly a prerequisite. Staying true to your beliefs, whatever they are, doesn't exactly matter to most of those people. But here's where we're at. This one Trump case does not have one clean element about it. It's got selective prosecution. It's got a fake crime without a real victim. It's got no jury. It was held in front of an activist judge who handed down an unconstitutional judgment that was so big that it would ruin almost anyone in the world just to have the privilege of an appeal. And there are people that actually support this, man. But before we get too deep, this is what's actually going on.
How can you run for election if you're sitting in a courthouse?
His anger is palpable. Former President Donald Trump running out of options, calling the ruling in his New York civil fraud case a witch hunt and election interference.
And that's why we must do everything in our power.
But in a matter of days, New York Attorney General Letitia James may be able to start seizing his assets, including Trump Tower, if he doesn't put up the cash, $454 million by March 25th. More than 30 bond companies have already denied him the money. It's a fine some legal experts say violates the 8th Amendment of the Constitution.
The amount is extremely excessive. It violates the cruel and unusual punishment provisions of the Constitution that include excessive fines as being prohibited. There was no damage done here. The judge just made up this figure.
Constitutional law professor Alan Dershowitz warns the impact could be a chilling effect on others.
You can't deny somebody the right to appeal based on lack of funds. That's a violation of equal protection and a violation of due process.
As I watch this, I think I'm starting to understand why it is that leftists don't actually care about any of this. I mean, there are multiple constitutional questions going on here. True constitutional issues. And the only thing that leftists hate more than they actually hate Donald Trump is the United States Constitution. So this is all kind of making sense. But you just heard mentioned, Donald Trump claims that 30 bond companies have turned him down for a loan against his own properties, right? Which has driven the lefty Twitter mob into every single crazy direction except for true. I mean, it's funny watching these people snark out and say things like, see, I told you he's not a real billionaire. And it truly is remarkable when you think about it. These people really don't seem to have a true understanding of the difference between net worth, which is all of his properties and everything, all included, and actual cash in hand, cash available, cash in the bank, right? And it's funny when you think about it. The whole eat the rich, pay their fair share crowd, they don't even understand the very basics of how wealth even works. I mean, it's remarkable stuff. You cannot make that up if you tried, right? And another thing we keep seeing popping up all over the left is this disbelief of Trump. They refuse to believe that he hasn't been able to get the loan. They think he's playing some kind of game, right? They just don't believe it. And they don't believe it because they don't understand it. They don't understand how loans work. Most of them probably have never gotten a loan and probably wouldn't get approved if they needed one. But here's what they're hoping for, I think. I think they're hoping that however he borrows it, whether it's from a bank or some friend or some foreign source, they're hoping that they can weaponize the fact that he had to borrow to pay their already weaponized lien as some sort of compromise. They're going to say Trump is compromised. And I promise you, Trump being compromised will be what replaces the whole bloodbath hoax for sure.
Some have also called the case politically motivated, since Attorney General Letitia James ran on the promise of going after Trump.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him.
I say one name, Donald Trump.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass.
But in the civil fraud case, the judge concluded Trump and his associates engaged in a years-long conspiracy to deceive banks and insurers by inflating the value of his properties and the size of his wealth, took no responsibility, and showed no remorse.
Donald Trump falsely, knowingly, inflated his net worth by billions of dollars to unjustly enrich himself, his family, and to cheat the system.
Democrats want you to know, man, they want to make sure that anyone who's paying attention understands that the only people who's going to be cheating the system around here is the Democrats. It's their system. I mean, they created it. They're the only ones that are going to be able to bend and break this thing. You know, it is not for the use of Republicans or anyone who's even thinking like a Republican, whatever that means to them. But anyway, guys, that's just my take. Let me know yours in the comments. If you haven't already, be a part of our growth, man. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.